Our next speaker is my friend Saru Seshadri. Oh, I can say his name every time until I have to do it in front of a microphone. So Saru is going to share a little bit about a new venture that he is working with called the Florida Israeli Business Accelerator. He was just in Israel last week. I think he flew in on Monday. And it's an effort that is bringing companies to the U.S. and companies from the U.S. building this bridge. And you'll see that even in the logo that they have put together, building bridges across countries for economic development in impact. So please give Saru a round of applause.
That thing is scary, so I'm not going to walk around. First of all, a big hand to Sarah and Stan. It's just amazing what job they do and the amount of networking that they do. It's just unbelievable. I don't know where you get your energy from. I wish I can grab some of it myself. So.
We'll share. We'll collaborate and share.
Yeah. Is it on auto? Oh, is it? Okay. Actually, don't need the slide. Can you just pause it on this one? Is it possible? It must have been a booth slide or something like that. Actually, don't need the slide, so you can just go back to the logo slide, that's fine. I'll give you a couple of context. FIBA is a genesis of actually two different efforts that kind of converged in the Tampa area. And one of them starts from the Jewish Community Center background. The Jewish community in Tampa has a center in north of Tampa, and they wanted to build a center in the south side. They were able to locate a property that was pretty rundown. It was an old armory building. In case you're familiar with Tampa, it's in downtown. It's a property of the National Guard. And they were able to put a deal together with the state and the National Guard to revive the building. It was completely run down. And created a $35 million project. And now it's the Brian Glazer family JCC. If you haven't visited the facility, I would welcome you. And it's a fantastic building, beautiful place. But when they put together the project, unlike any other JCC, they wanted to take a little bit of an entrepreneurial approach and started incorporating elements in it that are not traditionally in a JCC beyond just a play school and preschool and those types of things. There's a members facility where there's a beautiful gym and kind of like a YMCA type of a thing with an aquatic center where if you're a member, you can use all those facilities. But not only that, they built a pretty good Class A event center. If you're familiar with Tampa, a la carte pavilion closed down, and this became a replacement for a la carte pavilion, and it's a beautiful event center, seats about 600 people, and you can have all types of events there. And as they were doing it, they wanted to take a look at, by the way, the city of Tampa also located the Visual Arts Center there, where you can have a lot of art and design related activities and classes as well. So this became kind of a way to bring the community together, both Jewish and non-Jewish. And as they had some excess space, they looked at what else they can do. And one of the ideas the community came up with was, why don't we do something in the business area? And somebody said, okay, let's start a business accelerator. So that's the kind of the genesis of the FIBA from the JCC angle. The reason I got involved in that is that myself and a few other entrepreneurs in Tampa area, as part of the economic development activities that we were undertaking in Tampa and helping put together an innovative ecosystem in Tampa, we looked at the presence of MacDill Air Force Base and US SOCOM, US Special Operations Command in Tampa. And in case you didn't know it, together they're about a $20 billion business unit. SOCOM alone has an $8 billion annual budget with a $500 million R&D budget that is not getting spent in Tampa and Florida, okay? So they're very much for innovation. And if you read some of the military background and things like that, every so often they define something called as an offset strategy, which usually spans about a decade or two. And it looks at the advantages the US has over the perceived or the real enemies, and the profile of the enemy has been completely changing over the last decade as well. So now they're onto a third offset strategy, and you can Google this, you can see what the third offset strategy is. The first offset strategy was the nuclear weapons, and the second offset strategy was the stealth technologies and all the Star Wars program. The third offset strategy is now how to leverage the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the pace of innovation that's happening in the commercial world and bring in and spin in technologies into the military more so than spinning out technologies that used to happen in the past. So we, a few entrepreneurs in Tampa, started something called the Thunderdome Project, and we try to take a look at how we can bring an entrepreneurial ecosystem that allows us to work with SOCOM and also the military and DoD in general and bring innovation into the Tampa area. So that was a parallel track that was going on. Back in October of last year, we decided that we will merge both of them and bring FIBA and Thunderdome together. And now FIBA, Florida Israeli Business Accelerator, is the manifestation of the Thunderdome project as well. That's the kind of confluence of how these two things came about. And I'm not Israeli, I'm not Jewish, but I'm running the Florida Israeli Business Accelerator, in case you're wondering what I'm doing there. How many of you read the book Startup Nation? 1, 2, 3. Oh, fantastic. So Israel itself has a very powerful startup ecosystem and entrepreneurial ecosystem. There are some unique traits of the country which makes it happen. It's a very small country. I was there last week, and within a matter of 2.5 hours, you can cover the entire country. And in some places, it's just 3 kilometers east to west in terms of size, if you look at it. The population is about 8 million people. The level of innovation and the startups is just unbelievable. The problem that they have is that the local market for many of the solution is very, very small, and in some cases non-existent. So from the get-go, they have to look at US possibly as their one primary market. Now they're also looking at China and India as other markets as well. So they have a need to reach into the US market much more so than other countries and entrepreneurs in other countries that we saw here. Right? So that then results in a lot of challenges for them. They're able to raise capital. The Israel Innovation Authority, which is now a combined entity between two other entities that they were running, is able to fund a lot of startup activities unlike any other country I've seen. We saw some of the programs that Peter and Gail talked about. But Israel Innovation Authority is able to fund a lot of entrepreneurial activities that I've not seen any other country duplicate, especially to the level of efficiency that they've been able to implement. So the challenge that we saw with the Israeli companies and to be relevant to the Israeli organizations was how do we attract them to Tampa and Florida, especially when competition is Silicon Valley and Boston and New York as well. So we took the concepts that we created in Thunderdome as well as other research that we've done, and we come up with 3 specific programs to help foster innovation in Tampa area, bring the Israeli high-tech companies to the Tampa and the Florida area, and allow them to partner with companies and organizations and individuals here and be relevant to them as well as to be relevant to the Florida economy as well. Just to give you some context, Mass Challenge, if you do some research on that, Mass Challenge runs a program in Boston, and they started in 2009, and they brought about 200 Israeli companies to Boston, Massachusetts area in the last 7-8 years, and the economic impact direct is about $9 billion, indirect is about $27 billion, I think. And 9,000 jobs. In fact, today I was reading the 2016 report. They talk about creating about 60,000 jobs in the last 7 years. And the investment is about $1.3 billion that has been done. And the return to investors is about $10 billion. And by some numbers, it's about 4% of the GDP that they're contributing based on the last 8 years of work. So there is a lot of data that's available now based on Mass Challenge and other data from other accelerators that the impact of Israeli innovation is pretty powerful. And if you're able to foster and make this thing happen in the Florida area, it'll be good for all of us, especially generating high-tech jobs. So what we did was we said, okay, we'll be a soft landing pad. And Peter talked about trust as well. So we're not a business broker. So by being part of the communal organization, it's the first of its kind, started by a JCC anywhere in the world. So we are being relevant to the Israeli community as well as being relevant to the local community as well. So first of its kind project, we're a soft landing for these entrepreneurs. What they're looking for is that guidance when they enter the US market, subject matter expertise and industry domain knowledge that is relevant to their product that can then be localized for the US market, and access to customers, access to partners, access to programs, access to distributors, access to manufacturers. And there are also some unique programs between Florida and the state of Israel that we're able to capitalize on as well. I'll touch on it as I mentioned one of the companies. So we purposely designed it in such a way that we're able to bring collaboration and between not just Israelis and us, but also other entities as well. So we have a collaboration agreement with SOCOM, which by the way is open to the Florida companies as well. You can leverage our collaboration agreement and we can introduce any technology to SOCOM without breaking the procurement rules. We're not a replacement for the procurement contracts, but what it allows us to do is to introduce new technologies to SOCOM so that they can actually stumble upon new innovation that they otherwise wouldn't be thinking through the regular DoD channels. Okay? That's just one collaboration highlight. We also have a collaboration agreement with USF, WAVE, and we're trying to put together something with SARA as well. So any company, any partner that is willing to partner with us that might be of relevance to the companies that we bring in can actually, we can actually facilitate all that stuff. So the three programs that we have, is there a way to advance or you just paused it? Okay, so.
They could go one at a time.
That's it. Just pause it here. Great. So when we looked at how to be relevant to the companies as well, we looked at the stages of the companies that we are encountering in Israel. And as I said, Israel has a very good, thriving startup ecosystem. So to bring them at their early stage and make them go through a typical accelerator program just doesn't make sense. It's not practical as well. But what we found out is that those early stage entrepreneurs could actually leverage the subject matter expertise and the domain expertise and maybe some capital from us, and so that when they design the product from the get-go, we're influencing the product design. So we defined a program called Jumpstart for those companies, but we partner with Israeli accelerators who provide on-the-ground support services for us. And we allow the entrepreneur to develop the product, and we provide input as much as necessary and as much as required. And that way, when the product is complete and ready to come to the US market, it's not a complete surprise to us or to some of the early stage alpha customers that we are helping put together as well. So when the MVP is ready, they're ready for the next level of the program, which is the FIBA launch program. In this program, we actually allow them to come here. We fund them to some extent, and we allow them to use our co-working space and facility in the JCC. We give them membership. We take care of some of the personal aspects of them coming here as well. There's some cultural differences and language gaps that we can help alleviate, and also open the doors for them with other partners and customers and such as SOCOM and others. So this is of great use to them because that's a key help that these entrepreneurs are looking for. And what we found out is that the partners in Florida are also looking for these cutting edge technologies so that they can use these technologies to go and build other things on top of it, either as a systems integrator or as a reseller or as a value-added reseller or as a distributor. In some cases, they are also looking for local manufacturers. And in fact, we have one company that is, we have put together a partnership where they need to manufacture locally, and it's helping them do the stuff out of Tampa itself. And I'll talk about a particular program that's helping us work through that stuff as well. We also found out that there are later stage companies that are wanting the similar help, but this is not capital or other things. They're just looking for more mature partners to be hooked up. So we kind of said that we'll be the match.com between the later stage companies and partners in Florida and the US as well. So we have 3 programs, not just one program. And we're not a typical accelerator where you have to go through curriculum and things like that, although we have access to that through partnerships that we have with USF and WAVE, which is the Tampa accelerator. So these 3 programs are tailored to the needs of the stage of the company, and they're able to leverage this as they progress during the product development and the sales and marketing efforts. In the FIBA launch program, which is a core program that we're running most of the time, what we're finding also is that beyond just the help with opening doors, many of them need customer support services, distribution services, and so on. So we're able to build a preferred partner network of service providers in the Tampa and Florida area who can offer those services, all the way from incorporating companies, legal help, but more importantly, customer support organizations that can be the front end for these companies as they establish their market presence, because it's not easy to set up a US corporation from day one to support the customers. We also need executive recruitment type of help as well, because they're trying to build reliable management teams as they enter the US market as well. So these types of network building effects and network building assets we have put together in the program. And the more we can expand the network, the more we can make it collaborative, that's when the program will be very powerful. So we've been recruiting very actively over the last, I would say, 3 months now. And I have to say we're getting a lot of hits, some very good early successes as well. We have 3 companies that have started in our first cohort, which started in February. I don't have slides or videos about them, but these are pretty cool companies. First one is a company that's an industrial drone company, and Gail mentioned about drones and agriculture technologies, but this company is a pretty cool technology. Industrial drone, very powerful drone, can carry payloads that are pretty heavy in size. The unique thing about it is that they have a tethered solution as well. Tether being the drone is not flying independently, it's connected to a tether. The tether can actually go up to 300 meters in length, so it can fly pretty high. But the base unit can be put on a truck or a boat or anything that's moving. And you can be flying the drone through a remote control device while you're driving the truck or the boat as well. And because it's tethered, it can stay up for days. So the power is through the tether, and the tether is also a very unique technology that they manufactured themselves, which has not just power, but it also has a fiber link, and the data that can be published or pushed through the fiber is pretty high as well. The cameras and other sensors that they have on these drones are pretty powerful. It's a very flexible platform. So they approached us and said, look, we have this thing that's being used by the Israeli Defense Forces for some very unique applications. What can you do with it? So we actually were able to create a partnership between them and a very large DoD contractor that is now piloting that solution for some of the border patrol applications. But beyond that, for commercial stuff, we're also talking to companies that could use it for surveys and fixed asset services. You can put a Wi-Fi hotspot. This can act as a cell tower, for example, if a cell tower goes down. These are the types of applications that we're putting together for this stuff, and it's a pretty cool technology. Second company is, again, a pretty good innovative company. They produced vests that can actually prevent gamma ray radiation exposure, and they actually have been selected to go on the Mars mission. So their vest will be put on the dummies in the September 2018 launch, and we are also looking for local manufacturers and partners for them as well. Okay. Third company is a cybersecurity company. So these are the first 3 companies that have leveraged our program, and we are actually having great success with these 3 companies. And by the way, our focus areas is what we are good in Florida, which is healthcare. We are very good in Florida. Healthcare consumption, we are pretty high. A lot of healthcare innovation happens here. So we've been talking to a lot of healthcare startups in Israel and trying to bring them here. Agriculture technology, in fact, we talked about food and other stuff. We have found a particular company that's manufactured something that can detect E. coli and Listeria contamination and able to produce results within 45 minutes, whereas the current solutions take about 14 hours, minimum of 14 hours. So this is of very great interest to Florida farmers. In fact, we've talked to a farm yesterday to see whether we can make a partnership happen between those companies. Pretty cool companies, all the way from fitness equipment to digital health to agriculture. One company that is in the pipeline has actually produced a digital popper if you're into fishing. This is a pretty cool technology. They put a complete Wi-Fi hotspot, a HD camera, multiple sensors that can detect water temperature and have different behaviors of the fishes mapped to the thing. They have a social app that connects to the popper. You can actually take video of the water as you're fishing and look at the underwater scenario, and you can use it for training. It has an accelerometer in it, so they can teach you how to angle and how to throw this stuff. I'm not a fishing guy, but this stuff is very, very cool, right? So a lot of innovation is happening in Israel, and we're bringing that to Tampa and the Florida area. We're always looking for partnerships, and the more partnerships we can create and more collaborative ecosystem that we can build, the more powerful this will be. And thank you for the opportunity, Sarah and Stan. So